So what does it actually take to build a philosophy that you hope will last for, say, 3,000 years? I mean, that's a huge ambition. Well, today, we're diving into the origin story of the spiritual movement Happy Science, and we're getting it straight from the founder himself. We're going to break down a really rare 1987 speech where he finally revealed his 6-year journey from a high-stakes corporate job to becoming a spiritual leader. And get this, even when he was just a young university student, long before any kind of divine revelation, he already had this profound sense of destiny. He'd tell his friends about this incredible ambition. Now, this wasn't just some passing thought. It was this deep, deep desire to create something totally timeless. And that really sets the stage for the dramatic and frankly unexpected turn his life was about to take. But having a grand ambition like that doesn't mean the path is clear. Not at all. In fact, for him, it created this intense internal conflict, tearing him between two completely different futures. And you can really see the split right here. On one side, you've got this pull toward what he called the world of eternity. Philosophy, literature, even these mysterious visions he was having of the word eternity itself. But on the other side, the world of success. A prestigious law career, corporate ambition, basically everything his peers were chasing. It was this classic battle between a spiritual calling and what the world expected of him. And for a while, the world won. He decided to suppress that spiritual side and just threw himself into the super competitive, cutthroat environment of a Japanese trading company. His days were all about chasing numbers, reading economic news, and beating the competition. I mean, it's a life that's completely at odds with contemplation and philosophy, right? He was really trying to fit in, to achieve what society told him was success. So, after years of chasing that corporate dream, something happened. A sudden turn that completely derailed that whole trajectory, putting him right back on the path he'd once tried so hard to avoid. In March of 1981, he describes this experience that he just could not ignore. He said it was a physical, shocking event, a powerful light, and a direct message from what he called heaven, telling him, point blank, his life path was wrong. This was no gentle nudge, it was a forceful divine intervention. Okay, so the awakening happens in 1981, but he doesn't immediately run out and start preaching. No, instead, he enters what he calls a 6-year crucible of silent spiritual training. He only speaks out in March of 1987, and that 6-year gap, that's the most crucial and, frankly, the most fascinating part of this whole story. So you have to wonder, right? Why the long wait? If you believe you've just received a message from heaven, why would you keep it to yourself for 6 whole years? His answer reveals this incredible sense of caution and an almost paralyzing weight of responsibility. Let's just ask it directly. Why be so extremely cautious? I mean, if you are absolutely convinced you have a divine mission, why wouldn't you immediately go out and share what you believe is the ultimate truth with the world? Well, his answer is actually pretty chilling. He claimed that through his spiritual experiences, he'd actually seen the afterlife fates of other religious founders who had taught false ideas. He described this horrifying spiritual reality where a founder's suffering in hell actually multiplies with every new follower they gain, even long after they're dead. This absolutely terrified him and created this profound fear of getting even one single thing wrong. So, to avoid that fate, he started this exhaustive 6-year verification process. We're talking years of communicating with what he called hundreds of high-level spirits, constantly cross-referencing their messages to confirm who they were. He dove deep into all the world's religions, looking for contradictions, and was determined not to say a single word until his own spiritual foundation was absolutely 100% unshakable. So, after those 6 intense years of validation, he finally felt ready to distill everything he'd learned into a single core philosophy. He called it the principle of happiness, and it's built on these 4 pillars. It all starts with love, which he defined as the practice of giving love, and it's rooted in the idea that we're all one. Second is wisdom, which is all about actively seeking out truth, because truth is what really sets you free. Third is self-reflection. He described this as polishing your own soul, like a diamond, to get rid of any impurities. And finally, there's progress, the strive to improve not just yourself, but all of society, with the ultimate goal of creating a utopia right here on Earth. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because that intense personal caution directly shaped the strategy for his entire movement. He believed the organization had to be built exactly like the truth was found, carefully, methodically, and from the inside out. So he laid out this very clear three-step process for his followers, and it wasn't about going out and recruiting people right away. Not at all. First comes inquiry. You have to seek the truth for yourself. That's followed by learning, deeply studying, and understanding that truth. And only after you've mastered those first two steps should you even think about evangelism or sharing the teachings. He was absolutely adamant. You must understand before you can preach. This quote right here, it perfectly sums up his entire approach. He argued that so many religious movements go wrong because you have unenlightened people trying to enlighten others. For him, self-realization was the absolute, non-negotiable first step before you could even think about helping anyone else. It was a mission built on personal mastery first, public outreach a distant second. And that leaves us with this really fascinating question, doesn't it? What happens when a divine mission is tempered by a profound, almost overwhelming fear of risk? This is not your typical story of a charismatic leader who just bursts onto the scene. It's a story of a 6-year silence, born from an immense weight of responsibility. And it really makes you think about that tension between absolute conviction and the humility to question everything, even a message you believe came from the heavens.